Call the January meeting of the Haywood County Board of Education to order. This time I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for our invocation, immediately followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. And I ask Mr. Jimmy Rogers to lead us in our invocation. Jimmy.
Before I pray, I would just like to, first of all, give thanks to God for my health. I got a good report today from Asheville, so I've got release from my doctors, and I think I'm cancer-free. And I want to thank the community, the churches. I mean, we've got to give the credit to God, but I've had so many churches, people I don't even know, that's been offering up prayers, cards, texts, phone calls, and I just want to thank the community and thank our central office staff, our board members, and like I say, thank God for what we have each day as we walk through our lives. So now let us go to Him in prayer. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, it is so privileged to be upon this earth. We know, Lord, that each day we don't know what's going to be faced with. We don't know where we're going some days. But Lord, we know that if we put the trust in you, you will lead us in the right directions. Lord, we pray that you guide this board in every decision that's ever made, that we do the things that are in your will. And Lord, that children are able to be educated to the highest quality available. Lord, we pray that you take us each day and walk with us, carry us when we fall, as we know you do. And Lord, we thank you for this community. We thank you for Haywood County. We thank you for this state. And Lord, we thank you that we can live in a free world. Lord, we do pray your guidance upon us. We pray your guidance with our teachers, our staff, our custodians, bus drivers, and food services. Lord, that we always do things that are right and good and for the betterment of education of Haywood County children. Be with us in each and every day that we walk with you, and we'll always give you the praise and the glory for it all. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Jimmy, it's good to have you back. We've missed you being here. We're glad that you're back with us. Board members, we have a few announcements. Our next regular board meeting will be here February the 8th at 7 p.m. here at the Education Center. We also want to remind everyone that we have an excellent fundraiser coming up sponsored by Altrusa, and the school's foundation gets the proceeds from this. Is a big fundraiser for the school's foundation and for Altrusa. Please support it. It's Tuesday, January the 19th, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the First United Methodist Church. It's a soup fundraiser. Cornbread and soup is my understanding. It's great, and I usually get to go unless I'm out of town or something, but it's a good fundraiser, and this board supports it, not only with saying, yeah, we're going to go, but we support it with our funds also, so personally. So board members, please make every effort to be there and to support the Altrusa in their fundraising activities. Are there any other announcements that need to be made now? Under agenda adjustments, we have two. Item number 10 on the agenda will be postponed until our next regular board meeting. So delete item number 10. And if you would, let's see, we'll just add Mr. Leatherwood between item number 15 and 16. And Mr. Leatherwood, if I forget, just holler at me and we'll make sure that Building and Grounds gets there. A couple of items that we need to take care of tonight on the agenda, okay? Any other adjustments or things we need to add?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I have 3 items I need to get on the Finance Committee.
All right, under the Finance Committee, we'll just add them under item number 17, A, B, and C then. That'd be great. Okay, we'll do that. Any other adjustments, board members? If not, the board recognizes Dr. Ann Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, January is School Board Appreciation Month, and we want to say thank you to all of our board members tonight for all that you do for our public schools of Haywood County. Thank you for the hours you put in attending and preparing for meetings and for hearings and school visits. Thank you for always striving to learn more about public education. Thank you for working tirelessly to better your district, and thank you for never failing to advocate for the education of each child in Haywood County. We're very fortunate to be represented by you, and we thoroughly thank you and appreciate you. Now, if you would, I have a certificate for each of you. Certificate of Appreciation is hereby presented to Rhonda Shandeville. The Haywood County School System acknowledges and extends sincere appreciation for your service and dedication to the students, parents, and faculty of Haywood County Schools. Thank you, Ms. Shandeville. Ms. Milner, Vice Chair. Mr. Jim Francis, Finance Chair. Mr. Larry Henson. Mr. Jimmy Rogers. Mr. Walt Leatherwood, Chairman of Building and Grounds. Mr. Stephen Kirkpatrick, Chairman of Special Issues. Mr. Bobby Rogers. And then our chairman, Mr. Chuck Francis. And also we'd like to recognize our board attorney, Mr. Pat Smathers. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Next on our agenda, we would like to recognize Mr. Mark Shepard for some special recognitions.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. At this time, I wanted to remind you that, last month we did most of our fall sports recognitions, but Tuscola had their football banquet that night. A lot of their soccer kids were out of town for some events as well. So tonight we're having Carol Fox come around, and we're going to recognize fall sports for Tuscola High School.
Good evening, Chairman Francis, members of the board. Thank you for having us. We're very pleased to have some of our fall athletes here with us tonight that had very significant accomplishments this past fall sports season. We're a little short in numbers tonight. We started exams today, so hopefully we have a lot of kids at home studying. So we did one exam. That's what I'm going to tell you they're doing anyway. They're at home studying. But we're very pleased with them. We're happy to be here. I'd like to introduce Tommy Pursley, our football coach, and he will introduce our football athletes.
Thank y'all for this opportunity to recognize these young men. We had 6 all-conference football players this year that we're very proud of. They did a great job as football players, but more importantly, they did a great job of representing our football team, Tuscola High School, and our community. These are great young men, not just good football players. So we want to, again, appreciate the fact that you're recognizing them. as Ms. Fox said, some of them aren't here tonight. I wish they were, because I do think this is quite an honor, and I'm sure they will appreciate it. But, for various reasons, it's always hard to get a group of people together. But anyway, all-conference for Tuscola Mountaineers this year in football. Taylor Alston was all-conference defensive line, and I'll just say one or two just little special things about him. Taylor made over 100 tackles this year, which is very rare for a defensive lineman, and Taylor's not here, but congratulations to Taylor Alston. Caleb Ferguson. Caleb is a junior this year, made all-conference for the second time. He made it as a sophomore. He was all-conference fullback. He had over 1,000 yards rushing for us, scored over 20 touchdowns, had a great year, and he's only a junior, so hopefully he'll do it again next year and make it a 3-year sweep. So our fullback, Caleb Ferguson. Okay, our senior kicker this year also played soccer and was a very good soccer player, but boy, we were so fortunate that he was on our football team. Not only was he all-conference, he was also Special Teams Player of the Year in our conference. He just did a great job, a valuable weapon. At one time in the season, I didn't see the final stats, but he led the entire state of North Carolina in kickoffs in the end zone percentage-wise, so that was very valuable for us. He kicked a 47-yard field goal this year and kicked over 50 extra points. So all. That's true. That's very true, and I've heard that said several times today. But anyway, all conference special teams player of the year in our conference, Logan King. Also, this is a senior making all-conference for the second year in a row. Very proud of him. Did a great job. He missed a few games this year because of an injury, but he fought back and rehabbed through that. Captain of the team, always graded out as a best offensive lineman. So for the second year in a row, Jordan Davis made all-conference at offensive line. Another young man that had a great year for us, but he couldn't be here tonight. Again, he's a junior, so we'll have him back again next year. Joe Napier played outside linebacker for us and made all conference as an outside linebacker. He led the team in turnovers, caused fumbles, had a couple interceptions, but did a great job for us. He also is not here tonight, but Joe Napier. Okay, and our last all-conference player, last but certainly not least, he was played quarterback for us, made all-conference as a junior on defense, played quarterback, had over 1,000 yards passing, and he still, people think sometimes that quarterbacks are the glamour boy, soft guys on the team. Not only was he a tough quarterback, but he led our team in tackles, made all-conference last year as a safety, started this year at safety, but made all-conference as a quarterback. He was also our team MVP, so very proud of this young man, did a great job for us, Zach Webster. Again, I think it's tremendous the way we recognize these young men in front of the board and the community. They do a great job representing us and representing their parents, and so I'm very appreciative to have the opportunity to be associated with young men like this. Thank you. Thank you.
We had several runners on our cross-country team, men's and women's, that did very well this year. I don't think any of them were able to be with us tonight, but I'd like to go ahead and call their names out to you. We had Jacob Franklin. He was the overall champion for conference and regionals. He finished 12th overall at the state meet, and of course he was in our conference and all regional. We had Brooke Turner, who was all conference and all regional, and we had Lydia Cagle, who was all conference and all regional. And our girls cross country team finished 4th overall at the regionals, and it was the first time ever that the girls cross country team qualified for state. So they had a very successful year as well. So thank you for recognizing them. For volleyball, I don't think she came in. We had one young lady who received all conference, and that was Hannah Liddy. So those are our cross country and volleyball. At this time, I'm going to make a presentation, and then I'm going to let him take over the microphone and introduce his players. But we had the Conference Coach of the Year, in addition to the Region 10, North Carolina Soccer Coaches Association Region 10 Coach of the Year. And he was the coach of our boys team, who were the conference champions, and that is Mr. Ray Sugg.
I've got a lot of players that we've got certificates for that couldn't be here tonight. We're going to assume they either didn't want to miss the ball game or they're studying, one of the two. We'll go with that, Chuck. Josh Arford was all-conference. Trevor Fisher was all-conference. Liam McLeod was all-conference and all-region. Matthew Fowler, all-conference, all-region. Roman Norse, Ulysses Gomez, Keith Ernest, Mason McConnell, Ben Catt, Elijah Foglio, Logan Gombert, Jack Montgomery, Reed Warren. They didn't make this easy to do, did they? Blake Riggs, Daniel Tran, one more in there, Chase Cooper, and Anthony Westhusing. And I came sort of out of retirement to coach these guys last year, and we got excited when we won 6 conference games. And then this year, they just started playing ball. We had a streak where we went 12-0. We had an 8-game run where we gave up 1 goal in 8 games. So I had a lot of senior leadership on the team. They just did a great job coming together. We went to the second round of the state playoffs this year, and we lost the second round game in overtime. So it was fun. It is so much fun to win. And I will take credit and thank you. But we know, Walt, that it's the athletes, don't we? We'll take credit anyway. I've got 2 guys that are here tonight that I'd like to honor. Logan King has already gotten a certificate for football, and he was also all-conference and all-region in soccer. So Logan was in that mode where just think he had to get the 1 wood out on the golf course. Every time he kicked it, it was going up. So he didn't score a lot of goals because he's used to kicking it over bars for football. We did let him go up and take 1 penalty kick so he could get his goal for the year. On the other hand, when we had a goal kick out of our end of the field, in football he's kicking from the 40 and putting it in the end zone. On soccer, he's kicking it from the 6-yard line, and he's almost putting it in the other goal area. Huge weapon, even on offense. So anyway, Logan, all conference, all region, thank you for your contribution. And then Ben Nickel, I am surprised they got everything that he got on 1 certificate. Ben set a school record for 44 goals in a season. And he got, let me make sure I don't miss any of these before I give this to you. He had a career record. He tied Tuscola's career scoring record of 84 goals in 4 years. And 74 of those, is that right, the last 2 years? That's pretty good junior and senior years. Let's see, got all conference, got all the co-offensive player of the year in the conference. He got all region, and for us, our region is basically all the 3A schools west of Morganton. And then he got all state, and then the Citizen Times named him all Western North Carolina in soccer. So lots of honors for Mr. Nickel. And Max Preps does a player of the week or a player of the game. And Ben got so many of those last year, we just raised the bar this year. We said, you don't get it unless you scored the winning goal or unless you got at least 3 goals. And he was still Max Preps Player of the Game 7 or 8 times. In the playoffs, he got it both playoff games and actually got Max Preps Player of the Week for the whole state because he scored 7 goals in 2 playoff games, which may be some kind of Tuscola record too. We just don't know. But anyway, thank you for the honors, and I'm sorry more players couldn't be here tonight, but we'll just take the high road and say they're home studying. Yeah.
Done? Next on the agenda, thank you. Next on the agenda is Mr. Jeff Haney.
It's hard to follow Ray Sugg, Teacher of the Year at Tuscola, and evidently a heck of a little old coach, too. The good news is I've mentored Ray for 48 years. I've known him since he was 8 years old, so while some of it might be me, I'll just take credit where credit's due. Ray's a good guy and always has been. I don't know that I've ever had the opportunity to recognize someone like the young lady I want to recognize tonight. She's a Haywood Early College student. And the things we do at Haywood Early College are unique. A lot of people don't know what we do. Well, we're a high school. We're not traditional. We're partnered with Haywood Community College. The curriculum's designed to be 5 years, so it's a 5-year program. At the end, you should be able to get a high school diploma and an AA degree. And that's what we shoot for. The minute you walk on campus as a 9th grader, you get to take a college class, which is tough. So you have to think about it. When you went to college, how tough was that first class you went to? Imagine going at 14 years old. We had 554, Mr. McLean, 554 college classes taken last semester. Out of 554, we had 92% that would transition into high school credit. That's a pretty big statement. And Erin's one of our star students. And the thing that really gets me about Erin is she is very dedicated. She is very driven. She's going to complete all her high school credits this year in 4 years, which most people do. By December of next year, she will have an AA degree and an AS degree that'll transfer. She also helped create an online reader for college courses. She's an active student mentor. She's always helpful. If you need a college book, she's the person to go to. Don't bother us. She knows where they're all at, and I don't have a clue. She stayed very busy with outside accomplishments, and on her phone, she has a countdown on her cell phone, and she's going to tell you about that. Erin is a doer, and when I picked her up, she said, "I'm a little bit nervous." I said, "Erin, I am too, but we'll be okay." So it's an honor for me to introduce Erin Skinner.
Hi, guys. Not sure if there's a proper way to say hi to you guys, but so hi. As Mr. Haney said, my name is Erin Skinner. I am a 4th-year student at Haywood Early College. I am all the things he said, I guess, as far as being the mentor and creating all the things that he says I've done. I'm also a published author. As you can see, I have 6 of my books here tonight. I don't have my other 2 published ones as well. I have yet to buy those myself. It started my freshman year. I was a student in Miss Sanderson. She's now Miss Hooper. But I was a student in her class, and she'd given us assignment to work on our sentence skills and our sentence structure and just to help us with our sentences in general. So the assignment was we would all start writing or typing on the computers, and then after about a minute or so, we would switch, and our classmates would take over and continue adding to the story. I had started my story with a baseball theme because I am an avid baseball fan, and baseball is absolutely amazing. So I had started one involving my favorite baseball player. And my friends, being the crazy goofballs that they are, they turned it into a love story between me and my favorite baseball player. And at the end of class, I thought it was really, really good, and so I decided to keep going, and I was really into it. My friends were really into it, and, well, 3.5, almost 4 years later, I have 8 books published from that series. I'm working on the 9th one of that series. I'm also working on 2 other books that have nothing to do with baseball, but there's still other books that I've written, and all the books that I've written vary from like 380 to 450 pages. It's time-consuming, but I love it. It's a stress reliever. It's absolutely amazing. Not many people can say that they're a published author at the age of 15. As Mr. Haney did mention, I do have a countdown. My life goal, or countdown on my phone, my life goal is to become a United States Navy SEAL. As of right now, it's kind of hard with me being a girl, but it's okay. I'm going to do it. As of right now, I'm working to where I go to basic combat training for the National Guard this summer. If everything goes according to plan, hopefully I will be shipping out to basic on May 28th, and then I'll come back, finish my last semester of school, and then go off and do whatever the Army wants me to do. And then in 6 years, after I've hopefully attained my doctorate in history and a couple other minors, and a couple of my paramedic license, don't know the proper terminology for that, but I'm going to get it. I'm going to enlist in the Navy and hopefully finish out my 20-year career there. And then I'm going to come back and be a teacher of social studies. So, yeah. As of right now, I have like 137 days, and yes, I am counting down. So, thank you guys. It was an honor to talk to y'all. So.
If you're in education right now, you're taking a beating. I don't care what side you're on. But it is an honor to have a student come up. And Miss Hooper, if you'll stand up. She used to be a Sanderson, so we can't hold that against her, but that's Miss Hooper. Miss Hooper made the difference in a 15-year-old girl's life that might have changed her around from being a high school dropout to very possibly a Navy SEAL. We want to applaud you, Miss Hooper, for what you've done for the students. Thank you, Dr.
Okay, I'd like to present this Young Author Award. This certificate of achievement is awarded to Erin Skinner in recognition of her outstanding achievement as a young author, awarded the 11th day of January 2016 by Haywood County Schools. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Board recognizes Jill Chambers.
Chairman Francis and the board, thank you for having me. I'm here on behalf of Riverbend, and we were so proud of our boys and girls for being an A+ school. Our parent organization wanted to make sure every child had a Riverbend t-shirt. Well, we realized that we didn't have a Riverbend design, so we decided to have a contest. In November, we had a contest. We had over 64 entries. We wanted to make it a big deal, so this is a big deal. So we said that the winner would get $50 worth of Scholastic books, their face on our website, and this being announced here at the board meeting. So we want to announce the winner of our contest, and you have to check out his design on our Riverbend website, and we'll actually send to you board members our t-shirts once we get them all made up for the children, the teachers, and for you all. But our winner is a superstar all-star Riverbendian. He's in 3rd grade. He is in Miss Carter's class. He is above grade level in reading, above grade level in math. You see him carrying a book all the time, and he's never been to the principal's office. His name is Bridger Jones.
And Bridger, I would like to present you with the certificate of award. This certificate of award is presented to Bridger Jones as the winner of the 2015-2016 Riverbend Elementary School T-shirt design contest, awarded the 11th day of January 2016 by Haywood County Schools. Congratulations. Good job.
And he will be your next all-star linebacker, all-star basketball player coming to Tuscola. He is a great kid. He plays basketball with my son.
Board recognizes Alicia Glantz.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Garrett, Dr. Noldry, members of the board. First off, on the agenda item that we took off, the apprenticeship, the reason that we're not having the two that was awarded the apprenticeship is because they're starting their apprenticeship program today. And I felt like that was too much pressure for them, because who knows when they would finish up at GE and then get it back to us over here. So we asked if it could be postponed, and that's the reason why it was postponed. Okay, I'd like to give a brief update of what has been happening with CTE and the committee that was appointed last month. Please keep in mind that we've had 2 weeks of Christmas vacation in the midst of all the activities. On December 18th, some of the members of the committee attended a presentation at Pisgah High School on advanced manufacturing and the metals program. There were about 40 people in the room in the drafting lab room. So we were very crowded, but it was a very good presentation. During Christmas holidays, Dr. Garrett and Carol Douglas met with Mark Sarles from the Golden Leaf to discuss possible grants for the K-12 program that we have for Haywood County Schools. On January 4th, we were invited to attend a meeting by Dr. Parker from HCC to discuss the talent plan dealing with pathways. Those in attendance were myself, Dr. Garrett, Dr. Parker, Wendy Hines from HCC, Mark Claspy, Mike Sarles, and we were on conference call with Mark Sarles. Then on Friday, January 8th, I attended a meeting at the North Carolina Works Job Center, and they have formed a new committee now, and this committee is called the Haywood Economic Workforce Development Partnership. And I serve on this committee with Mark Claspy from Economic Development and Doug Birchfield from HCC. And this committee was designed to create North Carolina certified pathways. Then, as suggested by Mark Sarles, a group of us are with the Haywood County Schools and with HCC will be traveling on January 22nd to tour Swain County and to discuss their Golden Leaf grant. Then on the 25th, we are planning to meet again with HCC, Mark Claspy, Dale West, Danny Milner, Steve Williams, and Mike Sarles again. In the meantime of all those meetings, I'll be meeting with Wendy Hines from HCC to discuss a few possible pathways that are dealing with the health field. And I'm also meeting with Doug Long and Jenny Sizemore from HCC to finalize our electrical program that's going in at Central Haywood. The CTE students at the high schools are taking their CTE state post assessments this week, and they will be starting their new courses next week. So as soon as we get done testing this week, I'm going to do a little formal meeting with those appointed committee members. So, thank you.
Thanks, Alicia. Next, the board recognizes Mr. Jason Hines.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, every year in January it is my pleasure to be able to present to you teachers who have received National Board Certification. And if you remember from in the past when we discussed this, this is the highest honor that a teacher can receive in this profession. The most staff development, the most recognition for the type of teacher that they are and the high level of success and effectiveness that it brings with it. This year we have 49 teachers in Haywood County who are signed up to complete the national board process, and that is good for a 10-year period and a 12% pay increase by the state. So we're always glad to see teachers be able to do that. At the end of each year, there's always some people rotating off of that 10-year cycle, and they can choose to try to renew it, and it usually takes a year to do that, and they will be renewed for another 10 years. And we have 6 teachers with us tonight who have renewed their national board certification. We're obviously very proud of this tremendous success for them. So we want to recognize them with a small gift from the Haywood County Schools. And if they'll hang around afterwards, Mr. Trantham would like to take a picture. So if you'll come forward, Cynthia Haney. Congratulations. Caroline Bethea Brown. Tamara Reinhardt. Jennifer Rigdon. She said she felt bad going behind the child that wrote 6 books. Amanda Watson. Congratulations. And Noel Castater. We appreciate the opportunity to recognize these teachers and their tremendous hard work. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grant.
We've had 4 individuals sign up a request to address the board, and I'll read the opening comments, and then we'll start recognizing them in the order that they signed up. Now is the time period designated by the Board of Education for public comments. This time is set aside for comments from the general public in regard to matters of concern to the public. However, comments addressing specific students and or personnel are prohibited due to confidentiality laws and regulations. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board requests that all speakers adhere to the time limitation and prohibition against mentioning individual students and personnel. And that's a Haywood County Education reading that. The board recognizes Ms. Vicki Rogers.
I'm suffering from a broken leg and I'm actually walking tonight, so that's a good thing.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry to bring you bad news after all this good news. Mr. Francis and the board, I'm here to speak to you. I live on Francis Farm Road, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of over 300 people who have signed a petition against a proposed firing range and an associated retail store to be built on Palmer Road and Francis Farm Road within a mile of Junaluska Elementary School and the Tuscola ball fields. So we're speaking to you in the hopes that you will support us in protecting our children. These children ride the school buses each day along our roads. The buses travel on Francis Farm Road and use the corner of Palmer Road as a pickup and drop-off point for the children. There are about 12 children on that road. Our concern is for the proximity of Junaluska Elementary, the Tuscola ball fields, including the soccer field, I understand, within a mile of this proposed firing range. We have information for you on the charts that we've provided that shows the distances of various calibers of bullets and how far they can travel. And most of these, as you can see, are near or beyond the 1 mile distance. A bullet falling from the air can critically injure a child. And there have been 2 incidents that we know of where this has happened. One was in Charlotte at Carowinds. You remember that in about 2000, somewhere along there. And then there was, I understand, maybe another one where in Haywood County the bullet hit the top of the bus. So it can happen. So one source of information was published out of the University of Vermont. It's very definitive on what can happen. It references accidental shootings, high levels of noise that can create hearing loss, ringing in the ear, and lots of other kinds of things. So we would also include our concerns about decaying lead levels that mitigate in the soil. Wherever these bullets land, our pH soil levels would quickly disintegrate lead into the ground and could potentially contaminate the groundwater. So in summary, members of our community have provided signed petitions to the county commissioners, and we're now speaking with you to state that we do not want a firing range and retail store built in this residential community. It's just a small community, and it's just unacceptable to us. So we hope that maybe you can find a way to help us with this particular issue and protect the children on that road. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Next, the board recognizes Ms. Lisa Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Francis and board members, for allowing us to be here before you this evening. Recently, I found myself in the position of actually speaking before many people in a crammed room at the police department in opposition to a charter school. I served 30 years with this county in education, and children are my priority. It made me miss them very much when I heard the accolades that these young people were receiving this evening. With that in mind, I reiterate everything that Ms. Rogers has said. In this community, I'm heir to a piece of property that will look down primarily on this proposed gun range. The map shows you clearly where the proposed site would be. I gave it to Mr. Francis, Ms. Milner, and also to Dr. Garrett. It is about 1.3 miles from Palmer Road to the first softball field that's used there before Asheville Road. If you continue from that 1.3 mile mark, you enter the entrance to Junaluska Elementary School. If you were to go as the bird flies, I believe that would be a lot less. So we have impending reasons to think that this was going to become disruptive with noise levels, with the lead levels spoken about, and just not conducive to having our children be on school buses near and around such property. We're not saying we're against a shooting range by any means, or guns themselves for our hunters and recreational use. But we just feel that in close proximity to a school, 2 churches, and a cemetery, this is the wrong property. So we garner your support in helping our community understand that there is somewhere else this could be located and not near and around where education is happening for our children to protect their safety and well-being. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Next, the board recognizes Josie Rathbone.
Good evening, and thank you for having us here this afternoon. As you know, my name is Josie Rathbone, and I have property also on Palmer Road. And I also have a child, a 15-month-old daughter, that will be eventually attending Tuscola and Junaluska Elementary School. As you know, Mr. Morrow is planning on building an 11,000-square-foot building on an acre of that property that borders Palmer Road and Francis Farm right there on the corner. It will entail a shooting range, a retail store for sales of guns and ammunition, and it's just a little over a mile from Junaluska Elementary and from the Tuscola ball fields. He is stating at this time that it will be an indoor facility. However, he has already mentioned to neighbors that once this is successful indoors, he will most definitely go outdoors. He also stated in his interview with the Mountaineer on December the 23rd that the proposed funding for this building is going to cost around $500,000. After further research, and that he also plans to meet by the federal guidelines, and after further research, to do the proper ventilation that this is going to take to be able to properly expel the pollutants that need to be expelled after shooting a firearm, such as lead, it's going to cost at least $2.5 million, and that's the minimum. So it could cost a whole lot more than that. So my worries is that it's not going to be that he's not going to be willing to spend the money necessary, and that if he does build it, it's not going to be safe for our children. Also, the lead pollutants, even if he does do the proper ventilation, that's going to be expelled into the air, and it can be expelled up to miles from the firing range. So that definitely is in the distance of our school. It can be lead poisoning is going to cause, it's most common in elementary age children just because their brains are not completely developed yet. It can cause low IQs. It can impair memory and reaction times, seizures, high blood pressure, and kidney damage, and that's just to name a few. The Center for the Disease Control and also the American of Pediatrics did a study when a proposed gun range was mentioned in Utah, and they have concluded that no amount of lead exposure is safe, and that even though a child may never pick up a gun, the lead particles that are expelled from the indoor and outdoor ranges can and will find its way into the children's bodies, even if they're miles away. The EPA and CDC have both stated that lead exposure harms virtually every system in the body, and even the smallest amount can cause irreversible harm. In regards to the indoor range going outside, it takes an outdoor range a whole lot less money and maintenance. It's going to be on flat ground. There's no hills for a backstop, and so nothing is stopping a bullet from hitting our school buses. So I just want you to keep that in mind. In conclusion, we're not here because we're anti-shooting range. My father and husband are avid hunters. We just ask that you keep our children in mind at this close proximity of this proposed shooting range, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rathbone. We'll take these comments and under advisement, and thank you for your comments this evening. Okay, thank you all for coming. Next on our on a different subject, we have Mr. Bill Aker and Mark Etheridge that would like to address the board. Kids in the Creek program.
Mr. Chairman and Chairman, members of the board, I'd like to ask you all to go jump in the lake. And I'm not doing this as an employee of Haywood County Schools, but as a member of the Haywood Waterways. I'm on the board there. And as you all know, Haywood Waterways has done a lot for education in Haywood County, along with the Soil and Water Conservation District, the Park Service, HCC, and WCU. And all my 33 years of education, Haywood Waterways has been one of those organizations that stepped up to really help as far as environmental and science education. I think over 18 years, they've reached over 12,000 students in their Kids in the Creek program. For those of you that aren't familiar, for 3 days, every 8th grader in the county gets to go into the field for a day-long experience with people from business and industry and in the government and learn about water quality. It's just a tremendous program, and you can ask any kid. I mean, I've done lots of cool things. I've taken kids to the Keys, I've gone to the Everglades, and it doesn't matter. What was your favorite thing in science? Oh, Kids in the Creek. So that's why I joined Haywood Waterways. I wanted to see what their secret was. So having said that, because we only got 3 minutes, and I tend to be long-winded, I'd like to introduce Bill Aker, who's going to give you a challenge.
Chairman Francis and board members, it's a pleasure being here. This is my first school board meeting. Much more civil than the planning board that I chaired for many years.
according to what the topic is.
I am Bill Aker. I'm one of the founders of the Haywood Waterways Association. We set that up about 20 years ago to secure grants from the Pigeon River Fund. We've been very successful in bringing money into this county from various sources to help us protect our streams, rivers, and lakes. I'm not an educator, but I did marry one, and I have a lot of respect for teachers. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about our fundraising event. So 3 years ago, we came up with the idea of sponsoring a polar plunge fundraiser. We'd heard about these all over the country and how successful they were in raising funds. We needed about $20,000 to support our Kids in the Creek program. It's quite an undertaking. We have scientists coming from all over state and federal agencies as far as Tennessee to participate in the event. And so we started this event, and we wanted to encourage you all to participate in this year's event. It's going to be on Saturday, February 6th, which is the day before the Super Bowl. It'll be at Lake Junaluska Beach next to the pool. You can run in on the beach in the sand up to your ankles if you like, or stick your toe in, or you can jump off the dock with the rest of us. We've got a number of dignitaries that are going to be out there to plunge with us. Jason Boyer, chief meteorologist with WLOS TV, plunged with us last year. This year he's going to come and be our MC. We've got several of the town managers coming out as well. And you can jump as an individual or you can form a team. We started that last year. And we appreciate last year we had 6 teams from the schools come out. And we would like to expand that. This year so far we've got Canton Middle, Bethel Middle, Waynesville Middle, Tuscola High, Haywood Community Learning Center, and Central Elementary already signed up. So we'd like to have Pisgah High and all the other schools. So if you can encourage the schools to participate, and the administrative staff as well. And you think we're crazy for doing it. It's actually a lot of fun. It's a great fundraising event. It gives us older folks something to do and have a lot of fun. So I encourage you to come out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. And this board really appreciates the work that Haywood Waterways does. And I've always participated in the polar plunge, but with money only. And that is an option. But it is a great event to attend, and it's fun to watch and to be there and watch the teams and all. So thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you for the good work y'all do in the Kids in the Creek program. And Haywood Waterways does an excellent job. Thank you. Board members, you've had an opportunity to look at the minutes from the December 14th closed and regular session minutes. At this time, we entertain a motion they be approved as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Francis makes a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
So, Mr. Henson, any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Board recognizes Dr. Ann Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have before you the schedule for developing the local current expense and capital outlay budget for 2016-2017 as in compliance with policy 81000.
Does anyone have any questions about the dates that are listed? Questions? Comments? It's basically what we've done in the past on a timeline.
I'll make a motion that we approve 2016-17 budget development schedule as presented.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Second, Mr. Rogers. Any question or discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garrett. Next on our agenda, we have Mr. Walt Leatherwood. He's looking over here at me. I didn't forget it this time. I usually do. We've added Mr. Leatherwood. He's got an item from Building and Grounds that we need to talk about this evening.
Mr. Chairman, I have 3 things from Building and Grounds. The Big T Club at Tuscola High School wants to install a new sound system in the gym up there. And the cost of this is going to be around $13,000. Our maintenance department will supply a couple of workers for the people that's going to be installing this thing, along with a lift to install it. So we'd like to make this in the form of a motion that the we give them the okay to do this.
Okay, we have a motion from the Building and Grounds Committee from Mr. Leatherwood. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Milner. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote.
Chairman,
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Just a little clarification. I don't know if the public knows it, but of course the funding for this project is going to be paid for by the club.
The T Club.
By the T Club, and the our system's providing the workers in that only. So majority, those funds are not going to come out of our school budget.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
The second thing we've got is DPI. They need a facilities needs survey completed. It's from 0 to 5 years and from 6 to 10 years. And this needs the signature of the board chairman and also the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. Joe needs to get this done this week, sent back to DPI, and the Building and Grounds would like to make this in form of a motion.
To approve it. Okay, we have a motion.
I need your signature tonight if we approve it.
All right, I'll make sure I get it signed if it's approved. We have a motion for Building and Grounds to approve the 05 and then 6 to 10 year plan, and as presented by the Building and Grounds Committee earlier this evening. Do I hear a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Second, Ms. Shandoval. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor?
There'll also be copies of this if any board member wants to pick it up at Joe's office.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
The last thing I have is WNC Communities grant for its energy efficiency upgrades. It's for lighting and so forth in different schools. It's in a total of $27,253. This comes in the form of a grant from the community. We will be supplying labor and miscellaneous materials when the lighting materials get here. And we'd like to do this in the form of a motion if we give the okay for that.
We have a motion from Mr. Leavitt in Building and Grounds. Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Rogers. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Leatherwood, and the good work from the Building and Grounds Committee. Okay, next on our agenda, we recognize Mr. Mark Shepard.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. First of all, for a first read, we have 3 policies that are ones that we've already passed, but we found some tweaks that we need to make in them. The first one on 1720 is just a small, it's a repeated in the policy, but it's a small thing where we rename Mr. Hines' position as HR Director instead of Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, which was what was in the model policy.
Okay.
So we just put the appropriate title.
I appreciate the promotion.
Okay.
On the 6522, the second one,
All right.
the tweak is that before we just let people come into our media centers and use the goods and services that we have in there, which is fine, but we want to make sure we have principals' prior approval, you know, so that people can't just walk in off the street and use it like a public library.
Okay.
And on the 6525 instructional services, just a little tweak too. It basically says that, it said before that we would provide books for all classes, and that's a broad sweep now, in that we do, you know, online courses, we do community college courses, and we don't necessarily have funding for all of those. So we've qualified that now with the tweaks that we've made to that policy. So.
Okay. The listed policies will be tabled until the next regular board meeting to allow for public input.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, then the second group, this for second read and for approval, is the ones we put forward last month.
Okay. This time we entertain a motion that the presented policies be. Mr. Kirkpatrick has made a motion that we approve the policies that are listed on our agenda this evening. This is our second reading. We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second? So, Mr. Bobby Rogers. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Shepherd.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Next, we have Mr. Jim Francis, Chair of our Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee has met and reviewed the regular monthly financial reports. And at this time, I'd like to bring before the board the approval of those reports.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Francis, second by Mr. Kirkpatrick. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I have another item, 17A, is the audit contract for fiscal year 15-16. This is the same company that we've been using for the last couple of years, and I think we want to continue to use them because we've saved some money over those years by using them. So at this time, I'd like to bring before the board approval of the audit contract.
Okay.
I second that.
We have a motion from Mr. Francis, seconded by Mr. Kirkpatrick, to approve the audit contract as presented. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
The next item on the 17B, based on our prior funding cuts and projected trends that we see, the Finance Committee brings before the board a motion to approve a decrease in line items for the 2016-17 school budget year for next year.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Francis. Do I hear a
second
second?
that.
Second by Mr. Kirkpatrick. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor?
Chairman Francis, I wanted to say something, if that's okay. I first want to start off by thanking Dr. Garrett and Dr. Nolte and the rest of our administration for all of their hard work. And I want you to know that you have my full trust and support, and I appreciate the amazing job that you have done for our county and our school district. While I ultimately understand the outcome of the vote that is about to be taken, I cannot sit idly by while our traditional public school systems are attacked. And make no mistake that these decisions were made well before it came to our local school board. These cuts reflect the fundamentally flawed decision-making process in Raleigh and are removed from the will of this community. And my vote will be in clear protest of these policies.
Any other comments?
And I certainly empathize with what Mrs. Shanville has to say. And as Mr. Haney said a while ago, education's taking a beating. We had to come up with $2.4 million in cuts, and it's because of the state legislature, a drop in enrollment, and the charter schools. And because of that, we are in a critical mode. And when you are in that position, you have to take drastic measures. And that's the reason that I will vote for these cuts, because something has to be done. None of us wants to make cuts. It'd be nice if we could go on like we were going, but we don't have a fund balance to depend on anymore because of the reasons that I stated.
Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Garrett, Dr. Nolte, Ms. Garner, I know this is a hard decision. It's a very tough decision to have to make, like you say, when you're talking about people's jobs, people's livelihoods, careers that they work so hard for. As Ms. Shanville stated, our state legislature, the government has really hurt public education. The ways they're going about to find funding, revenues for charter schools, et cetera, it just really, it's not really correct in my opinion and my thoughts. Like Liz Milner said, $2.4 million, that's a lot of money. That's sad that we have to look at that and we have to make cuts and changes. I will probably I'm in support of what we're going to have to do, totally, but I'm going to also be in a negative on this in protest. I hope Raleigh gets the message. I mean, we've got to stand up to Raleigh, and I don't know where it starts. I don't know how to get there, but we're going to challenge it. This state needs to make the decisions that's for the betterment of these people out here teaching our kids and making better decisions as far as how to fund our educational opportunities that we need for these children. And so that's, it's tough. And I know it's tough, but we got into it.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that the public fully understands all that's been accomplished by this school system, all the while being underfunded, struggling against budget reduction year after year after year, having to dip into fund balance to be able to make things move ahead. But amidst all this, our school system's thrived. It's because of teachers, it's because of administrators, it's because of school staffs have faithfully and unselfishly overcome the obstacles that have come their way. The problem is, with all the ability and the desire to overcome, with all the commitment, with all the dedication, it still has some limitations. Decision makers in Raleigh need to understand that every decision they make regarding public schools affects children, and they're our future. And the citizens of this county need to understand what's going on. I hope the news media captures the essence of what's going on tonight, and that our citizens begin to engage their representatives. Let them understand the disdain they have for what's being handed down to our children. They're our most valuable resource, and teachers are our most valuable asset. You know, I also think that we have to realize that, and we need the public to realize that when charter schools were established, without referendum or vote, by the way, it affects the funding of the traditional school system. One charter school in Haywood County has diverted about $1.5 million away from Haywood County schools. Again, this is without loss, or without a vote, or without referendum. It affects tax dollars and has no accountability to the taxpayer. Tonight, this board has to make a decision to keep Haywood County schools moving forward and not to go further and further and further in the hole. Tomorrow, teachers and administrators have to walk into schools and be greeted with uncertainty. Yet they'll still give their best because that's what they always do. Students unknowingly will have less opportunity tomorrow. But it's my prayer that this community will hear this news and take action and get involved with the decision makers and stand up for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Any other comments? I mean, we all can say the same thing. Go to DPI's website. It's right there, public information. Funds dropped continuously. 1970, the public school share of the general fund has decreased by 14.7%. If our public schools are still funded at the same percentages in fiscal year 1969 to 70, we would have an additional $3 billion for our students in North Carolina. It's right on their own website. Enough said. Any other questions or comments before we vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we have 2 dissenting votes. The ayes have it. Anything else from the Finance Committee?
I have one more item, Mr. Chairman, and as the discussion that we've just had shows that, we have a problem, and it's something that we've got to address. Some decisions are easily made, and some decisions are very difficult to make, and we were elected to make those difficult decisions. The next motion I bring before the board has been given tremendous amount of time, energy, and thought by the Finance Committee, by the central office, by our financial officer. And we have looked at things to do, and we want to do what is best for the students and faculty of Haywood County Schools. However, based on the state cuts that we have endured over the last several years and the drastic reduction in student enrollment that we've seen, especially in the last 2 years, it's with a very heavy heart that the Finance Committee would bring to the board a motion to recommend the Board of Education authorize a study to close Central Elementary School pursuant to General Statute 115C 72.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to start a study to close Central Elementary School. Do I hear a second?
How much I'd hate to say it, second.
Second. Mr. Rogers. I mean, Mr. Kirkpatrick, I'm sorry. I think you're on the myself, but anyway. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor?
As Mr. Francis said, that's with heavy hearts.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign? Motion carries unanimously. At this time, I'd like to say that we've made a motion to direct the superintendent of staff to conduct a study as to closing Central Elementary School. The results of that study will be made available to the public by or prior to January 21st via the district website, local media outlets, and available at the central office. A public meeting for input will be held January 26th at 7 p.m. at the Central Elementary School cafeteria to discuss the closing of Central Elementary School. That's pursuant to General Statute 115C 72. Have we done that correctly, Mr. Smathers? Thank you. This time the board would like to recognize Dr. Ann Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your information, you have 7 separation from employments. You have 6 leave of absences. For your approval, you have 3 employments, 5 employee status changes, and on number 7, I'd like to take number 2 and number 3 and approve at this time.
Okay, I hear a motion we approve. So moved, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rogers made the motion, second Mr. Francis. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your approval, you have under 7, number 1.
Okay, Mr. Leatherwood has indicated that's a family member, so he is going to be recused from voting on this particular issue. He will abstain. This time we entertain a motion. We accept. So moved. We have a motion to accept the recommendation. Second by Ms. Milner. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries with 1 abstention.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have 10 substitutes for approval. 5 non-employee coaches, and 2 volunteer services for approval.
I'll entertain a motion at this time they be approved as presented. Ms. Milner's made the motion. Second, Ms. Shandoval. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garrett. There being nothing else to come before this board, we are adjourned.